Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iturrate, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy. Welcome back to another fantastic episode, Lytes Out Podcast. As you can see, we are doing behind Mike's favorite aspect of what we do here, our deep dives. Deep dives, man. We get to go in. Mike gets to nerd out. He gets to know more about people than they know about themselves. Sometimes it's pretty awesome.
Or creepy.
Yeah, creepy.
It's one of the two.
It's a fine line between really cool and stalkers. So that's where we go. So, but these are my favorite parts to actually. I'm a fighter at heart, and I love hearing other people's stories because I got a story. Everybody's got a story, but it's fun to hear those things. And Walt has a great story. So, Walt, man, how you doing, man? Thank you for coming here. Appreciate you being here.
Man, bro.
Thank y'all for having me.
Man,
sure.
So, before you start with the first question, Chris allows me to use our friendship to take more time than I'm supposed to.
Yeah, it's
and
fine.
if at any point...
I'm a fan of this dude, so whatever he needs, I
take full advantage of that.
Got it.
So
take advantage of it,
okay,
brother.
my man. All right.
I'm with you. I'm in the pocket with you, brother.
All right, so starting before your UFC career, I mean, you're athlete, obviously. What were you doing before you started? What was your job? What did you do?
So before I worked at UPS, I used to play college basketball.
Yeah.
And from the time I was probably 5 years old, I thought I was going to be in the NBA. That was my goal. That was my dream.
I got the frame.
You know what I mean? And I wasn't always this big. I was like 200 pounds, 210 at the most, I think, my senior year when I graduated. But I was player of the year at my college.
Really?
I just knew I was going to be a pro player. And that didn't work out. I tried out for 3 different NBA teams.
Really?
And it didn't pan out. And I went into, honestly.
Europe? No Europe?
No, so with the Europe thing, they offered me, I think at the time, $80,000 to go over to Italy. And to me, my mindset at 18, I was like, man, that's pennies compared to my friends. Well, here's the thing. I played with Gerald Wallace and Mario Austin.
They're making millions.
They're going to the league and making millions. And these are my AAU teammates. So I'm like,
that's a tip
there's
at
no
dinner.
way.
That's a tip at dinner. Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to, as I got older, I became more aware and realistic about my situation at that time. I was very cocky back then. I was like, man, I'm going to the league. But when that didn't pan out, my wife and I had our first son, Asa. And I went, honestly, during that period, through a 2-year depression because for my entire life, I had dribbled the ball. And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I panicked. And then I had this kid on the way, and I'm just like, man, I don't know what
there's responsibilities there,
exactly.
Man.
So I started working at UPS and, doing little odd jobs to kind of help my wife out. My wife was the breadwinner for a long time. She was forensic nurse at Children's Hospital.
Nice.
And, so she told me, if you really want to get into fighting, because the story of me getting into fighting was an accident, honestly. Like, I went into a gym in Vestavia to train, just to kind of get back into shape. I was like, man, I'm an athlete. And if I can be quite candid, during that 2-year period, I was mixing and mingling with a lot of guys that weren't for me. I was in the streets. I was doing they were no good.
Kind of life, though, man.
Yeah, and I was doing a lot of crazy stuff, back then. And I just got to a point where I wanted to change my life. And so I went to Vestavia to the Goals and got a membership. And I started running and working out every day. I got down to like 245. I was still playing basketball.
How high did you get?
Oh, I had got up to 310.
You quit. You quit?
Yeah, I quit. I gave up on life. And
what you're saying is I don't think a lot of people can realize the fact that when your whole life this has been your goal and this is all you know and all of a sudden that's gone, you're lost. I mean, people don't have any idea, like, oh, just do that. Man, it's not that easy because in your head, this is all you built up and this is all you know. When that's taken away, it's not that easy just to be like, well, move on to something else.
Right.
It takes you out, and I can say just being an athlete, that after high school, I had somewhere that I was lost for a while until I got into fighting as well.
Yeah, and it was, go ahead.
Yeah, so essentially, basketball doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
You stumble into a boxing gym.
Mm-hmm.
You win 2 Golden Gloves title, one in Florida and the other one in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are you moving quite a bit at this time?
Yeah, so I have to give a lot of credit to my coach, my first coach, Jon Dye, because in Alabama at that time, there wasn't a lot of outlets for fighting.
Okay.
You know, I fought a lot of unsanctioned fights here.
Yes.
But to propel my career to where I wanted it to go, we had to travel every weekend. And he took his car and loaded it up, and we get on the road. And I fought from as close as Atlanta all the way out to Vegas.
For amateur fights?
For amateur fights.
Wow.
So he's footing all the bill.
Yeah, he was trying, you know. I mean, we weren't making a lot of money, and then some of the promotions would give us a couple $100 for gas and food and things like that.
Get you
but
there
like, you know what I mean? But it was never a job to me at that time. It was just about, I love to fight, and he loved to train me. And honestly, at that time, I never envisioned the UFC.
Did you always like to fight, or is that something you found out once you went to the boxing gym?
I found that out later. Now, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, yeah, it is. And when I was a kid, I fought in the neighborhood. You know, I was the smallest and the youngest. I got bullied a lot back when I was young. My brother and my older cousins.
Grow up?
Yeah.
Well, so
I ain't going there.
Well, the first part of my life, up until 6th grade, I lived in the hood. You know, so like that was just the way we lived. You know. And then my mom woke up and was like, "Hey, I got to get him out of here before it gets bad." And she moved me to Homewood, which changed my life.
That's a real mother's love, is what they do for their
Exactly.
kid, even if it means separation.
She sacrificed a lot, and so Homewood changed my life. That's why I still live in Homewood. I still love Homewood. Everything. I ran for city council in Homewood. Like, that's just my, you know, that's my place. But growing up, you know, I never fought. That was just I tried to avoid it. You know, and if I had to fight, I did it. You know, my grandma was like, "Look, don't let nobody beat you up in your yard." So I would go out and fight for that.
It's a different, you know, that older generation is just different.
They different,
like,
bro. It's come from a different cloth.
Go out there.
Yeah. I couldn't eat till I fought. You know, I defended myself.
Remember one of my buddies, he said his dad was like, "Hey, that kid's big on you. Better come in here. You're getting a woman. You know, fight your back." He came in there. That dad made him go back out and fight. He came back out. That's an old school mentality. We like that. I think we need a lot of that in this day, man.
So then, like, you do the Golden Glove stuff, and then you transition to MMA. Mm-hmm. What was that transition period?
Did you ever think about just pro boxing as well?
I did. That was my first love. I still love boxing to this day. But when I started training, I was 22. So it was like, I knew the politics of boxing.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's rough. And I was like, man, I'm gonna jump in there and get sacrificed to the wolves. Let me go do a sport it's got a name, but it's not blowing up. I was a business major, so I could kind of see the model becoming what it is today, honestly. Nice. If I'm really telling you the truth, I was like, man, I'm gonna go to do this MMA thing. There's no guys really doing what I'm doing. I'm athletic. I'm fast for a heavyweight. So let me just try that, because I feel like my odds are better because it's a mixed martial arts situation, whereas opposed to boxing, these kids come in at 5 years old.
You never wrestled, though.
But it wasn't about, back then it wasn't as, wrestling was a big deal, but it wasn't as prevalent to me, honestly, than it is now. Yeah. You know, guys are realizing now, like, all right,
you gotta do it.
You gotta have the base.
Here's a real reality, my opinion, I'm wrong here, but I feel like if you're not gonna have a wrestling background, the best weight class for that is heavyweight, because I feel the lighter the guy, you have a wrestling background. It's
that also
man.
factored in.
If you're a heavyweight, you can
get away with it. You don't have a bunch of heavyweight wrestlers. No, I mean, it's hard to find heavyweight fighters, let alone a good wrestler at heavyweight. So,
exactly.
You know, that just was kind of my thinking in it, and I was having so much success in the amateurs. I was 24-1 as an amateur.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
a lot of amateur fights.
And the reason I did that is because I didn't fully know if this is what I wanted. I was scared. You know, I'm gonna be honest. Every fight for me still to this day, I'm terrified.
Well, you're supposed to be.
But it was like, is this it? You know, and I just kept winning and winning. And like I said, we were traveling. I was fighting every weekend at one point. Like literally every weekend.
That was the circuit.
You know what I mean?
That's the
circuit. That was how we kind of came up. So I was thinking in my head, okay, you're winning. And then I won my first amateur title in Tuscaloosa. I'll never forget it. I cried because I had always come in my basketball career.
Yeah.
I'd always come one game away and we lose. You know what I mean? I had never really won anything. And then this is by myself. I beat a guy that was very, very well known in Tuscaloosa. And then the crowd started chanting UFC after that. And that's when I was like, oh, man. I was like, damn, this might be, you know what I mean?
It's like a pro wrestling moment.
Yeah, I was like, yo, this might be your career, bro. Like, you might need to focus on this, like, extra hard. So that's kind of when I started locking in.
Okay, but your first fight in MMA, like, obviously you're based here in Alabama. You're fighting in Florida. Your first fight's in New Orleans.
Well, my first
amateur fight.
My first, like, recorded
Oh,
See,
yeah.
and that's
There
one thing
we go.
I
talked
fought
about
some
before.
unsanctioned joints.
Yeah.
The story about my first unsanctioned fight is crazy because I fought in Bessemer, which is like where I grew up till 5th grade. So you got.
So you went back to the hood.
Yeah, I went back home.
Showing people you still got it.
Still got
Who wants
it.
some
Well,
now?
still
Who
got it.
wants
They
some
were
now?
like probably like half of them are thinking. I remember him till 5th grade. He was a scary
Little
kid.
punk.
Yeah.
So he's getting in a cage. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you got all my Homewood people came back. So I think that we packed out Bessemer Civic Center. There was I think 3,500 people.
Oh my God.
It was insane. And I remember being in the locker room.
Were you the main event?
I don't think I was the main event. I think I was probably like the co-main.
Yeah,
like,
if you turn on them ticket sales,
Yeah,
and wherever
like-
you are,
Yeah,
you're at the
yeah,
end
yeah,
now.
somewhere.
I was pretty close to the end, but I remember being terrified. And the crazy part about it, I was fighting my coach's old training partner.
Oh man, was
And
there
so-
some bad blood there?
I don't think there was bad
Okay.
blood. I think that he just kind of moved on, and
Okay.
the gym kind of broke up, and then this guy was still kind of fighting, and coach was, because he's not that much older than me. He's like 7 years older than me, so the guy was still doing his thing.
Okay.
But I was terrified. I'm like, man, this dude's fighting,
You might know my secrets. Yeah, you kind of go
I'm
through
like,
that little head game.
How'd the fight go?
That's the funny part. So I'm scared, and I ended up beating the guy, and he rocked me the first opening bell. Boom, sends me into the cage. I get up, and I throw like a 3-piece combo, shatter his jaw, like crowd's going nuts. I throw my mouthpiece,
King of the world.
Yeah, dude, I'm on top of the world, and I'm feeling good. And that's when I realized I was like, I probably can do this for a living.
How many unsanctioned bouts did you have?
I had 4. I fought 3 of them at the dog track, and that one in Bessemer Civic Center.
Okay, so like myself coming from a wrestling background, I'm used to being one-on-one, me out there, nobody else. It's your first time doing that. How? Explain the nerves of being like. How many times did you go? What am I doing?
I did it the whole way to the
I'm
cage.
leaving. I'm not even gonna. Let's just go.
Why am I here?
What am I doing?
I told my coach in
I'm
the
not
locker
doing
room. I remember saying like, I want to fight.
You sure this is for me?
Yeah, he's like, remember the line? And I'm in the front of the line. They're about to announce me, and he's got his hands on my shoulder, and I'm trying to like turn around.
Making sure he don't leave.
And I'm trying. Yeah, he's got
He's
this.
trying to turn around. No.
He's like, we're good. And I'm like, Coach, I don't want to do this. What am I doing? And I remember, it's so crazy in those moments, you can remember everything.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the color of the canvas. I remember hearing the door lock. I'm like, I'm in here now. And I look across, this dude's like 275 at the time. I'm like,
What am I doing?
Can we
What am
work
I
this
doing?
out? Can we just work this?
But-
We don't have to fight.
I don't care what you say. No matter if your first. There's not a one point. Let's say, what am I doing, man? What am I doing? I mean, what am I doing here?
Carlos Condit has a great story. Cowboy Cerrone. Go if y'all get a chance to go check his interview out on ESPN about how scared he is before fights.
Who you talking about, Cowboy?
Cowboy, it's
Cowboy
unreal.
is more nervous than you think.
It's
He's very
unreal.
calm, cool, collected.
It's
I've been in his locker room.
unbelievable. He's a beast. I love Cowboy. Shout out
He's
to
one of
Cowboy.
my
That's my
favorites.
guy.
One of my buddies. But another one, you wouldn't expect this. GSP.
Yeah.
You say GSP before, it's like
Nervous
you
wreck.
ranting around. Why do I do this? I'm just gonna get a normal job. I'm not doing it.
Everybody,
It's like what?
I'm driving
yeah.
a taxi. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So your first sanctioned amateur fight is against Justin Thornton,
Mm-hmm.
where
That was his first pro
That's
fight.
my fault.
yeah.
Tim Buchanan in New Orleans. I apologize.
Yep.
I'm skipping ahead. So, did you drive to New Orleans?
Yeah, we drove down to the Sugar Factory. I think is where it was held, which was a dope event for an amateur fight. They put on a great show, and another terrifying thing is Tim was actually one of Pat Militich's guys.
Yes.
So I was I was like, like, what
Legend.
am I doing, legend? And I was terrified. I'll be honest, but me and Tim had a war. We went all 3 rounds. Probably 2 of the tightest heavyweights you'll ever witness in a fight.
Like clinching.
Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't clean. I was throwing bombs, but I think the 3rd round we laid on each other. He had me mounted for a little bit.
Couldn't do anything
Couldn't
with
do
it.
anything with it. Like, it was an ugly fight, man. But it was a great experience.
The thing about Buchanan is, like, you look at his record, he's only got 3 fights.
Yeah, listen, listen.
His second fight's Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
Can you
Who's
imagine?
the third one?
Third one was like another guy that's got like 30 fights that
Tim was
just
a-
missed the
0-3.
UFC. Yeah, he's like
Everybody's
0-3.
That's
and
forced.
But that's the thing. Tim was bro. When we got done fighting, his face was like a pack of hamburgers.
he's had that at all 3 events, I
He
think.
is-
He's
I
had-
mean, I was wailing on him, and he wouldn't go away. Man, he tough as nails. Respect.
you
shout out
learn
to
a
Tim.
lot about yourself when that nail keeps getting up,
Yeah.
So then your second fight, like you've been done absolutely no favors. Like, you're talking about the politics of boxing. Politics of MMA are coming after you as well, because your second fight is against Lorenz Larkin. It's in Kentucky.
That was amateur, though.
Right, second amateur fight, right? Recorded amateur fight, where you took a loss on that fight, and he actually went on to the UFC and Bellator afterward. So, like, you've had 2 really hard fights in a row, which is abnormal for, somebody at the amateur. Describe that situation.
Well, with Lorenz, I mean, I just wanted to win. You know what I mean? I love to compete. So they called me and they're like, hey, I didn't know anything about it. I honestly looked him up on Facebook. That's how I kind of like saw videos on him. And they were like, this dude's a champion, blah, blah, whatever. We need you to cut weight to meet him, because, of course, Lorenz ended up fighting as low as 170.
No way.
Yeah. Lorenz is a monster.
Oh, it was Larkin.
Yeah, Lorenz,
God.
but we met at a catch weight of 227. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
I'll meet you halfway, 227.
I'm like, they're like, look, if you don't make the weight, you can't fight. I'm like, all right, whatever.
But how far out was this?
Bro, this was in Braden. I don't want to say it wrong. It's Braden, Kentucky.
What time frame?
What do you mean time frame?
Like to cut weight and like.
I had probably like 5 weeks.
Okay, but that's
how much
I
did
had time.
How much did you have to lose?
But I was, like I said, I got down to 245. That was my walking around weight.
Oh, okay.
So the weight cut was brutal. I had never cut weight before ever.
Heavyweights don't cut weight.
Exactly. And I had never cut weight a day in my life.
Oh, my God.
And Dave, you know that time, it wasn't the towels in the water tub. We did the sauna, shadow box. We did it the old school way. Yeah. And I did it the night before the fight.
Oh, my God. Dude, you had to feel terrible.
I did. I felt absolutely horrible. But in my mind, I didn't understand what it was. So I was just like, all right, figure it out. Let's go in there and fight. Yeah. That's just me. You know what I mean? We fought. It was a good fight until I got caught, you know what I mean? And then I look back and I'm like, man, that dude went on to be
badass.
Special.
Badass.
Special.
So you can't look at those losses. And it was the amateur loss, too. It's like, all right, it doesn't mean anything. But
that's what you're seeing now. Then
you don't know.
You don't know.
You just like the fight. It hurt. It really did. It hurt to lose. I hate losing.
I remember one of my fights, I get called out to California for a fight, and the guy got hurt. Something happened last minute. WBC back in the day. No, this wasn't some other organization. They go, oh, we got this guy. He's real good. He's a young guy, Nick Diaz. I'm like, all right, whatever. So he won Grappler's Crest. I don't give a shit. I don't even know what that is. So I fight this young kid. He's like 4-0. I fought in UFC already, and fighting in Japan, and I lose a split decision to him. And I at that point, I remember talking to my buddy Alex. I was like, I was about to quit the sport. I was like, I'm getting beat by young kids who have no business. They know what the hell's going on. So I felt better when he made okay, not a bad split decision loss. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that you don't know. You didn't know Larkin was going to be the man. It's like you just don't know. You're like, I knew question everything, man. You knew he was good. I
knew fighting him how good he was.
Like,
because I had fought guys before that, but then I was like, damn, this motherfucker's good.
Yeah.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, we're good.
Fuck.
My bad, I ain't know.
Yeah, we're good.
But I knew when I got out of there with him, I was like, that dude's really good. Yeah. And then I kind of followed his career. We kept in contact, and then he went to Strike Force, and then he was in the UFC, and he was having success.
He had that dedication.
I was like, this dude's good, man. All right, I don't feel bad about the loss to him. You know what I mean? But that was a tough.
Learning experience.
Now you're telling me how tough it is. I'm like,
that was pretty tough. Yeah, that's bad.
That ain't right. That ain't right.
Now, that being said, sometimes, especially amateur, you can have extremely tough fights. Now, your first pro fight, Justin Thornton, didn't seem to be quite as tough of a fight. You know what I mean?
I got him out of there pretty quick.
About 15, 16 seconds.
Yeah, it was pretty fast.
How was the transition from amateur to pro, though, like mentally?
For me, I think it was just competition, because when I was in the amateur, I had the ability to throw elbows and knees because I would fight in Tennessee and New Orleans. So it wasn't a transition where I had to I never wore shin guards as an amateur.
That's good.
Okay.
So it was like, all right, cool. I'm just going into a fight where I'm getting paid.
Exactly.
I don't want to lose half my money. You know what I mean?
So Chris, on that same card, it's his first pro fight. Obviously, it's a big step up. Crazy Horse is sharing the same locker room as him.
Dude. That was phenomenal.
Okay, so
did you know who he was?
Yeah, hell yeah, I knew who he was.
Okay. I was like 12, 15 fights. So
but he was fighting he had fought in Pride at that point. So for me, when I got into fighting, I went back and watched a lot of old fights. I have DVDs of Pride. So I saw him in Pride, and I was like, oh my God. And then he was in my locker room, and I fanned out. Like, I'm like, yo, you know, we developed a relationship after that because he was going through a tumultuous time in his life. He was supposed to actually come to Birmingham. We tried to move him here to train with. Yeah, we were trying to move him here
He's
to train
talented,
with.
man.
He's so talented,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And I just, you know, couldn't. He would listen to me,
but he wouldn't listen.
He wouldn't listen. Like he was. I remember being like, you know, him telling me like, I'm getting ready for this fight. I'm high, and I'm just like, oh.
So you know he fights for the bare knuckle organization.
Yeah.
So, which he looked phenomenal his last fight. But,
his last few fights.
Yeah.
Even Bedford looked good.
When they actually got him training, he's looking better and better and better. But it's just funny. I don't even know if I should say this, but I'm going to. It was talk about him listening, not listening. So I walk into the hotel for the bare knuckle, and I see somebody with their hood pulled up all the way, and the string's totally as tight as possible. I figure
it's like he's looking through a telescope.
I figure it's got to be him, but I couldn't tell it. I just see he's walking. Hey. No, and he walked off. So I assume it was him. I still don't know if it was. I'm 99% sure it was
99% it was him.
So was he a little nuts in the locker room at that time too?
No, he was chill, man. He was focused on what he had to go out there and do. Like, I didn't see the wild side until like after, you know, when we hung out and like I got to go fight on other cards.
Yeah, he's legit.
But he's so talented, man.
That's not
he
an
just
act.
never had an out. He poured his heart out to me. He's like, look, man, where I'm from, I'm the man. You know what I mean? So like nobody tells me no, and like he just never had the people around him.
Sometimes you got to respect someone. Like even Muhammad Ali had a trainer.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. Like he needed
he
that.
listened to someone,
and I think he respected me for being real with him. You know what I mean? I used to tell him the truth. Like, bro, you need to get the fuck out of there. Like, come to Birmingham. We'll get you centered. You know. Yeah. But it's also a product of
his environment,
and I don't want to leave the comforts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
that's tough.
So his second fight was for the WEF, Shamil Levine.
Mm-hmm.
Man, his second pro fight, he fights Chris Barnett,
6-1,
who was 6-1 for
a lot more experience.
And he's a monster.
He's a beast, bro. He was doing cartwheels and shit.
How do you get into
crazy.
the WEF? It's Shamil Levine, and how does that fight take place? Because it's
so,
a little,
that's
a little lopsided.
If I'm being honest, I beat Chris. Chris will tell you, me and Chris are cool now. I beat him in the first 2 rounds. That's just facts. I outstruck him in the first 2 rounds. He was very flashy with things that didn't land. But the 3rd round, he took me down, and at that point in my career, I had no wrestling, no jiu-jitsu, so I couldn't get up off my back. He literally laid on me for the last,
5 minutes?
Yeah.
4 minutes?
It was the whole round. He was on top of me. The canvas was slick. I couldn't get up. I'm like, man, this sucks. So I got up. I'm thinking, man, I won that fight. But Chris was Jamie's guy. It was hometown fight. I get it.
How was it dealing with Jamie?
Very
controversial promoter.
He treated me well. I mean, from what I remember, he didn't do anything that made me upset. But I did find out after the fact that, I walked into a snake pit.
100%. I did. A 6-1 guy.
God rest his soul. Yeah. I realized, now what I was doing, but I just loved to fight. So I never really
couldn't say no.
I didn't analyze like Chris Barnett's the #1 heavyweight in Florida. I'm like, if I beat this dude, I'm the #1 heavyweight in Florida. Yeah. And I ain't even from Florida. You know what I mean? So that's just how my mindset where I love to compete. And I made good relationships from that fight. So I fought Chris Barnett, and that's what my introduction to Top Team was. Dean Thomas was actually there. And Dean, I was in the locker room in tears. Like, I cried after every loss. Not ashamed to say it. That's how competitive I am.
Yeah.
And Dean comes in the locker room and he goes, you won that fight. I knew who Dean Thomas was when he won.
Of course.
I was like,
Dean Thomas.
I'll never forget it. He had one of these little cameras. He was documenting everything, and he had the camera on me. He's like, before I record you, dry your face. I want to talk to you. And I'm like, holy shit, Dean wants to talk to me. So I go in the bathroom, I wash up. He sits me down, and he's like, dude, you got a lot of talent, blah, blah. Why don't you come to Top Team? And I was like, American Top Team? Like, the Mecca?
Yeah,
he's like,
the Mecca.
He's like,
it's true.
Yeah. He's like, look, go home, heal whatever, any injuries you feel. I'll reach out to you. I'll get your flight. I'll make sure everything's taken care of. So I go home for 2 weeks, and to show me he wasn't lying, he DM'd me on my drive from Florida. Me and my wife are in the car, and I see Dean Thomas pop up in my Facebook, and I'm like, and he's like, look, I'm serious. go home, rest,
Wow.
and I'm gonna make sure you get the top team if you want to
Damn.
come. Now, mind you, in that time,
That's a
I
hell
had
of an
already
invite.
had top team, or I had Dean, and then I had at the time Black Zillions.
All legit teams. Yeah,
Their
yeah.
manager was reaching out to me for management. He wanted to manage me, and he wanted me to come down there to train. So I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like I used to do in college basketball. I'm gonna do a recruiting visit. You know what I mean? That's how I'm thinking. I'm like,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So I'm gonna hit top team. I'm gonna hit Black Zillions. I'm gonna hit all these different gyms.
See what feels
to
good.
see what feels good
That
and what's
makes
right
sense.
for me. Because I knew at that point, after losing to Barnett, I needed something bigger than Birmingham.
Sure.
I needed to get better. And so I was like, all right. I called Dean like 2 weeks later. I'm like, bro, I'm ready. He's like, all right, your flight is here. Blah, blah, we'll pick you up here.
Dang.
I got the top team and never took another visit to any other gym. It was over.
Really?
I was at top team for 5 years. I never left because I got in there and it was just the family environment and, you know, the way they trained. I liked that. It was a dog eat dog mentality, and it was something that I thrived on. It helped get me into the UFC actually. So I'm very grateful to top team and thankful for the opportunity. And
For
Dean,
sure.
that's still my guy. I
Dean
love
Thomas,
Dean.
the man. Me and him were
Love Dean.
roommates when I was
The
on
Ultimate
Ultimate
Fighter.
Fighter.
Yeah, you were.
Buddies ever since then, man. He's a
Love
great guy.
Dean.
He's hilarious. Man.
Love
Funny
Dean.
guy.
That's my dude.
So your fifth full pro fight is it's in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly you're globetrotting, across the country, and it's against Anthony Hamilton, who later
Another
wants to
trap.
another UFC
Didn't
future
realize
UFC vet.
Another trap. So I think at that time when I fought Anthony, I was 4-1,
Yeah,
but he was 13-1.
that's,
A lot of
that's
experience.
So much
A lot
experience.
of
So-
experience.
Training in Albuquerque, I didn't know.
Full time.
Listen,
Greg Jackson.
Greg Jackson. So I didn't know any of this.
I heard of him.
Like I didn't
Oh,
know.
yeah. Who?
I didn't know. I know who Greg Jackson was, but I didn't know he was there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna show you. I go to Vegas, and I like to tell people so they can understand.
Yeah.
I go to Vegas, and it's just me, my wife, and my coach.
Okay.
And we're in a hotel. We
Family
go-
trip, quick
Yeah,
business.
it's like
Let's go
I'm
hit
going
the
to just a
slots.
bit, that's how crazy I
Nice.
was. I didn't even think I needed a bunch of coaches. Like I didn't know no better. So I go out there. We're in the cafeteria eating, and I see Anthony. He's got Keith Jardine, Greg Jackson.
Yeah.
He's got all of the pros that I watch on TV walking behind him. They're all in matching track suits, and I'm just like, I look at my coach and I go, what the fuck?
We should bring somebody else.
I go, coach, this is a setup. I told him, I was like, dude, this is a setup. I'm gonna die. Like,
It's an ambush.
Yeah, dude,
if
we're
he
about
don't
to
get
get
me,
wrecked.
they're jumping in.
and he's like, dude, don't worry about it. We're good. So we go out, we fight, and then SSC back then was like a big promotion. So you got Anderson Silva, he's got people fighting on the card. This is a big deal to me because
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my God, I'm seeing all these people. But then I start thinking, dude, you're here to lose. Like, they didn't bring you here to win this fight.
They
Like,
want to be B-side.
you're the B side of the fight. And for me,
And you know that, like, every time your locker room, you're like, wait a minute.
but that shit turns me up,
Yeah.
bro. Like, I'm
I
like,
don't
you're
think so.
doubting me because Alabama, I got a chip on my shoulder. I got it tatted on me.
You
like,
guys get disrespected
we
a
get
lot.
disrespected
yes, I
a
agree.
lot. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Yep.
Well, we're lining up, and I hear all of his credentials, and like he's national champion wrestler, and I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
fuck. And then,
And in this corner, Walt.
but look, but here's the
Some
here-
big
I'm gonna
dude
show
named
you-
Walt.
I'm gonna show you where my confidence came from.
Yeah.
He knew who I was.
Ah!
He said it in his interview. He goes, he's a great striker. I got to be prepared. Blah blah. Whoop. And I said, all right,
Okay.
it's game time.
Now he knows what's
So
up.
we go out there, and I'm still, of course, terrified, but I'm trying to hype myself up. And I remember my coach distinctly telling me during the whole training camp, don't get taken down. Well, I get taken down like the first 10 seconds. But we watched film, and we knew how to get up.
Mhm.
So I got up, and I tried to murder him with an elbow. I threw
Yeah.
an elbow hard as I could. He
Yeah.
just barely missed him. We break apart. We come back together, and I don't know what combination I threw, but everything like
Piece to
Oh,
it
that's
all
a good
landed.
one, man.
And he was asleep.
That's the best ones to
He
throw.
was asleep on the cage like this, and I was just going nuts. We just slayed the giant, you know what I mean? In Vegas, I won the knockout of night bonus. Like, it was like a big deal, and
Nice.
everybody was so excited. But I look back, and I'm like, man, they brought you in there. to
Oh,
die.
yeah.
Like,
That's the best.
Chris mentions that too.
it's the
Sometimes
best feeling ever.
it's the best fights to have are the ones you're unaware of until you're about to get in there because that mental anguish.
You don't have time to think.
Yeah,
You don't have time to
he
really
says that all the
process it,
time. Yeah. So you get 2 more wins in a row, and then you've got a canceled bout against Nick Smiley.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that? I have a feeling, but I'm not sure. Is
Well, I later learned that I think the UFC put that on hold
That's
because they wanted me to come in and fight Rosholt on the tough card in Vegas, and that was like, man, exciting, bro. Like, I wanted to fight Nick. Nick was a big deal in Alabama, but
what did it feel like when you got that call? Because, I mean, most people, you've been training for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate goal, and you always think at first, I never get to UFC. And I was like, I'm
there.
UFC.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually like 6-month period where right before I got that call, we had tried, me and Nick were supposed to fight like on 3 different occasions. And it kind of, and I don't know if it was his injuries or what, but we never fought. That was supposed to be my, like, coming out, like, hey, I'm ready to fight. Yeah. Even though I fought Anthony Hamilton, that was because that was
locally. We're talking local,
like,
regional.
That was supposed to be like, hey, regional. I'm supposed to go out and do my thing, and I'm gonna try to get in the UFC. Well, there was like almost a year where I didn't fight, and so I thought about quitting. And I called my manager. My manager at the time was Charles McCarthy, and I called him in tears, like, bro, I got a family.
You talking about Chainsaw Charles?
Chainsaw.
It's on my ultimate fighter season.
My
2.
God, I'm actually going down there to see him in 2 weeks.
Cool.
But that's my guy. He was managing me at the time. He's like, I can't tell you what to do as a man, but I promise you, you're close. Yeah. And I had been hearing that for so long. Yeah. I'm like, man, this is bullshit.
Well, they win over Hamilton.
You know what I mean? After the win over Hamilton,
if he beat you,
I'm like,
he was gone.
Exactly. I'm thinking in my head, if I beat him, then I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. But it never happened. And so I just got discouraged, and I wanted to quit and go get a job because and like I said, I'm a man first. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I want to take care of my family, and I'm crying. He's like, bro, don't worry about it. I promise you, you're close. And I swear to God, the next day I got the call for the Rosholt fight.
There you go.
Next day.
So they canceled the bet. Okay, so you get Rosholt, which you lose a split decision to, which obviously not easy, but there's a UFC kind of mentality that you have to have going into it. And then after that, I lost to
Krylov.
To Krylov, who is a beast.
Yeah, but at the time I was 4-1 favorite. I was supposed to smoke Krylov.
Yeah,
dude. Vegas had me 4-1 over Krylov. So I lost to Rosholt, and I remember Dana. I was upset, but I remember Dana coming into the locker room and going, "You won that fight." So my mindset is, all right, let's get back on the horse.
Yeah.
Then I found out, which is probably which I always from that point on never looked at the odds. I saw the odds of me and Krylov, and I was like, man, I'm supposed to kill this dude. I trained my ass off. Don't get me twisted. But in my mind, I didn't respect him.
You thought you already won.
I thought I already won. So I go into that fight. I'm like, I'm fighting in Chicago in the United Center, which is a huge deal for me as a basketball player.
I was there. Yeah, I mean, I saw that fight.
I'm going nuts. I'm excited. I'm supposed to win this fight. It's going to be my first UFC win. And this dude clips me in the first 20 seconds of the fight. And I remember the fight's over. I get up. The ref's like, you okay? I'm like, fuck, I'm all right. I'm fucking trying to fight the refs like I'm pissed off because I know I fucked up. And he's like, you know where you are? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the United Center. He's like, all right, you're fine. And I remember going into the doctor's bay afterwards, and I looked at my coach, and I said, man, this ain't it. I'm not good enough. Yeah. I don't want to do this anymore. And he goes, no, you're just emotional. You're just emotional. I said, no, I don't belong in the UFC. Like, I was supposed to beat, I was a 4-1 favorite.
Yep.
Like, he just smoked. And he's like, no, we got to go back and do this and do this. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm done. Well, I go home. I get a call from Charles, and he goes, man, we got cut. And I'm like, oh. So my world's over.
Yeah.
I'm destroyed.
A second time.
I'm destroyed, bro. Like,
basketball and now
basketball
this.
and now exactly. And I went into another depression. Like, I was just like, man, I don't know what to do with my life now. I got to the pinnacle and I wasn't good enough. Yeah. That's what I kept telling myself. Well, the UFC had called and they said, look, go win a few fights and we'll bring you back. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me get my mind together. Well, they offered me the DJ Linderman fight
in Titan. Yeah.
At Titan.
And Linderman is a stud.
He's a beast. He had never been finished when I fought.
Yeah,
he's
a stud. Yeah.
So shout out to Lex McMahon. Like, Lex believed in me. He was like, look, I'm going to put you on Titan, and I'm going to let you fight DJ Linderman. It's a tough fight, but I believe if you go in there and perform, you'll be right on their radar again. And I was like, cool. I go in there and I smoke DJ Linderman. I mean, put him away. And, like...
Did you have a different mindset going in?
Oh, I was a savage, bro. I was so determined to get back in.
Yeah.
My family around me, like Charles Rosa, like, they had insulated me to they created a monster, bro. And I'm just be honest. Like, I lived with Charles, and he was every morning waking me up with the Rocky theme. He made, like, I'm not bullshitting, bro. He made me eat certain foods, made me train 4 times a day. Bro, I was a dog. Rosa's the best. That's my best friend. I call him my little brother. Everybody knows that. Like, I credit him with a lot of me getting back to the UFC because him and Sam, like, they were my roommates, and they just.
Now, going back just a step. I remember, when I first started fighting, they didn't pay hardly anything, and you didn't make much money. So my first big opportunity to make a lot of money when I went on the Ultimate Fight. And I've been fighting for years. I had 4 kids. Like same thing you're talking about. Like my wife didn't work, so like I was responsible for everything, working full time and trying to fight. Spent a lot of time away, so I felt like I owed my family a lot. Mm-hmm. When I lost a split decision, and like the winner of that thing got like $200,000, a title fight with St. Pierre, all this other stuff, and the loser got nothing pretty much. So I pretty much got nothing, and I felt like I'm not gonna lie, I felt in a way like a big failure and a letdown to my family. Mm-hmm. Did you have any of those feelings when you got cut? Because that was the worst time of my life, most humbling. Yeah. And when you really have to examine who you are. Yeah. Did you have that same experience?
I did, brother. I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That you apologize to people. And they say, you don't apologize.
They're like, dude, what are you apologizing for? And I couldn't help but be apologetic because I knew what she sacrificed. Yeah. I knew what my daughter, God rest her soul, Anaya, had sacrificed. But Anaya was one of the main reasons I made the move to go stay with Charles in Florida. Because she was like, Dad, you can do this. You don't stop. You got to keep going. Like.
Kicked you out the door.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, like, how much she sacrificed as a kid, babysitting when I was away and my wife was working. Yeah. All the things that they were going through, and I'm just thinking, you quit now. You just basically told them, you made it all worthless. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take this lead. I'm going to go down the top team. I'm going to live in the gym. And I'm going to make sure I do everything I can to get back to the UFC. And that's where Charles came in, and he was just like, bro, this is what we need to do. He's like, dude, you're too talented. You have to go about it this way. And I went and did everything they told me to do. And I fought DJ Linderman, and I got called back to the UFC right after that.
Well, not really. You had a canceled bout against Dave Herman.
I did. You're right. You're right. I was supposed to fight Dave Herman actually for the title of Titan.
Wait. Okay. You were supposed to fight Dave Herman like freaking 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Damn, he know more than I. I forgot all this shit. I forgot all this shit. Man, that's crazy.
You get canceled.
That's dope.
Dude, I hope I get Dave Herman.
All about Dave.
Yeah, I hope I get Dave Herman.
Shout out Dave.
Yeah, I really do.
We've been trying to talk to Dave for a while.
Yeah, we can't find him. We haven't.
He disappeared, man, for a while.
And I've been looking at like arrests. I'm like, man, where's he at? I'll write him a letter. Whatever. Just put money on his books. I'm trying to figure out where he's at.
Put money on his books.
Yeah. But then, okay, so you beat Linderman. You get a canceled bout against Dave Herman. Is that from an injury, or is that because the UFC pulled you again?
I don't know. I still never found that out.
Well, the smart move is you fought for Mick Maynard in Titan.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's like a really intelligent move at the time because you got the eyes of the guy that's booking the cards.
Exactly.
Pretty smart.
And I think Mick's my guy to this day. Like
he knows his stuff.
Mick believes in me, man. I love Mick. Shout out to Mick. That's a lot of shout outs going on.
Yeah, love it, right?
But I gotta do my due diligence because Mick is my dude. Like I'll run through a wall for Mick.
You should.
And you'll hear about it later how I ran through a wall for Mick. But so yeah.
So then they pull you for Sao Pelele.
They pulled me for Sao Pelele on like a week's notice in Australia. Yeah. So that was crazy because I think Soa was number 10 in the world at the time. But that was my way. He was a monster. That was my way back in. So McCarthy.
That's a hard way back, though.
It is, but I'm a gangster, dog. I don't worry about none of that. I'm like, let's get it. I probably should have done it, but I would have never got back.
But here's the thing:
if I didn't,
when they make that call, if you say no, they ain't calling back.
There you go. And that was my thing.
And they always say, okay,
you need 3 more wins instead of.
So what they say is, hey, if you do this, it's not really said, but
we'll look out.
Take it on last minute. We're gonna give you a better fight next time. That's what they do.
I will say, they took care of me from that point. I love the UFC for that.
Yeah.
And so But in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to Australia. That's cool. Like I'm trying to find. I'm a silver lining kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you get to go out the country.
See some
kangaroos. You know, yeah, dude. Like they expedited my passport. So I'm going. I'm feeling like, okay, this is dope. But not thinking again, you're going on his territory. You're going to lose the fight. Like they don't, but you're in the UFC again. And I needed that as validation for me as a man, and all the hard work I had done. So I go out, fight Soul, give him hell the first round, and I gassed out the second. And he shattered my nose. I'll never forget that. But he was 300 pounds. Like he rehydrated to 300, bro. Like he hit me with a right hand. I don't even think he probably threw it hard as he could, but it hit so clean. My nose went boom. And I remember like getting on my bike to get away from him, and my coach going, hit the one in the middle. Because I was seeing three of them. I couldn't see. I'm like,
that's when a coach knows you.
Yeah. And,
he sees your eyes.
He laid me down in the corner and, he finished the fight. But it was just like, damn. You just fought Soa Palele on fire. You're a gangster, dog. You can do this.
Here's the thing, too. I don't think people realize you go to Japan, you go to Australia, you need about 5 days
to acclimate.
Yes.
Just so you don't have jet lag going on. And I remember the first time going to Japan, like the next day I went to the gym and I worked out and I was like, I got tired after 2 minutes. I was like, oh my God. And then I came back the day after that, got tired after 2 minutes. I was like, I can't fight. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. Never been jet lagged like that before. But I like, there's no way I can fight like this. Mm-hmm. It takes you about 5 days. It's like, okay, now I feel better. And if you don't, I don't see how you can fight like that.
It's crazy.
On last minute notice. It's almost impossible.
It is. And that dump happened in the second round. And I was just like, man.
Adrenaline dump?
Yeah, bro. I'm in front of this monster, dude. And I'm just like, hey. All right.
And that crowd is hyped there.
Yeah,
from the start of the prelims to the end. You're like, dude.
The fans over there are
thirsty.
Insane, bro. Like they knew who at the time I wasn't even ranked or nothing.
You haven't won in the UFC yet.
They're like, hey,
you haven't got to win it.
I'm like, what? They were at the UFC gym with posters and like I was doing interviews. It was the first time I'd ever done an open workout. Yeah. I'm like, yo, this is dope. But it was just an eye-opening and I learned a lot about myself in that fight. I learned that, you do belong.
Yes.
Like, you're not here by mistake. And from that point on is when things started to uptick for me.
But after that, they gave you Cody Easton, who's 12-1.
And that's my dog too. No, not Cody. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. That's not. Excuse me. Chase. I was thinking about Chase.
Yeah.
But Cody, they gave me another tough fight.
Well, they cut you.
No. I got cut once. I only been cut once.
Well, you also had another canceled bout with Dave Herman in between there.
Yeah, in between that, I was supposed to fight Dave in the UFC. Dave
that was a UFC bout.
Dave had got back in the UFC.
Okay. Come on, brother.
Yeah, Dave had got back in the UFC. Yeah, I got cut once. I ain't been out of the UFC since that first cut. I was determined.
That was right.
So you and Dave were
kind of like synchronized for a while.
Yeah. Did you guys ever talk about that?
We did. I think I spoke to him like once, and then it was just like I never heard from him again. I never saw him at events or anything in UFC. Like nothing.
He's off the grid now.
Yeah, there's a couple interesting YouTube fights of his that aren't sanctioned, I think.
Yeah. So.
Hey, 0-1 versus police.
Yes, that's all. That taser is a level changer. Yeah. All right, so then you get Cody East, obviously 12-1. When you finally break the UFC curse.
I got my first victory.
What a relief, huh?
And what was dope about that fight was it was John Jones's return.
Oh, okay.
And so John, so from what I understood, I don't know how true this is. This is what I was told by some people around the UFC. John usually has a locker room by himself. But I was in his locker room for this fight. So that just took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Was there animosity on his end?
On John?
Yeah.
No, John was cool. I
partied
with John.
It means it's cool being in the same
room. You're very careful with that statement.
Well, not like you think. All right.
All right.
We were out till 5 in the morning.
We were. But so it was cool because I was always a John fan, and I remember getting checked in. They're bringing me to my locker room.
Greatest of all time.
And that was back when we had they were doing you get your own individual locker out of metal with your nameplate. Yeah. Like it was fire. Like UFC used to be on some other stuff, Like it was crazy. So I see my locker, and I look over and I see John Jones, and I'm like, oh, he's got all his gear in there, and I'm like, oh shit. Now mind you, I never got to be in the same because my fight was way earlier. Yeah. But it was just the fact that I was in there, and somebody was like, yeah, he asked that you be in here, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I was like, shut up. They're like, yeah, John usually does his own thing, but like he
put Walt in here with me.
But so me and him became really close after this fight.
Well, he's one of the greatest fighters of all time.
He is,
period.
for sure. So I go out, I beat Cody, and I get a call from, I used to be managed by First Round that manages Jon. So I get a call from Malky. Malky's like, yo, where you at after the fight? And I'm like, I'm at the hotel doing peon stuff. Like, what? He's like, come party with us. Jon wants you.
That's cool.
Jon asked that you come out with us. And so I was like, all right, whatever. I thought it was bullshit. I'm like, man, whatever. I was like, I'll call you back in an hour. And if you don't answer, Malky, I know you're full of shit. He's like, I swear to God, I'm going to call you.
All right. When you hung up the phone, were you doing a dance? Like,
babe, yeah. My whole crew, everybody. I'm like, Jon wants to party with us.
We're going, come on.
We're going on. We made it. You know what I mean? And I'm freaking out. And so I put all this pressure on myself for this to happen. So everybody's like, now, mind you, I got all my family from Birmingham out in Vegas. Like, everybody's with me.
Oh, you got to take a ton of pictures.
Yeah, dude. So I'm like, all right. I call Malky. I'm like, yo. He's like, go to Hakkasan. We'll meet you there. And I'm like, all right, cool. I go to Hakkasan. The line is wrapped around the building.
Oh, not for you. Not for you, baby.
Watch this. So I'm standing there. I don't see nobody. And he goes, I'm on my way down. Well, they rolled Jon through in a wheelchair. Jon grabs me. Let's go. Who you got? And I got like 20 people.
Was that just to avoid the crowds?
We skipped everybody. We went straight in, straight to VIP. They bring out bottles and they got like signs for Jon. The girls are running around. And I'm standing next to Jon Chandler. All his brothers were just standing there. I'm just like, oh my God, I've arrived. You know what I mean? Like, I've made it.
Think about Jon Jones going, oh man, we need the wheelchair entrance because I'm not dealing with that.
There you go.
I mean, it's just.
There you go. That's exactly what that was about.
So you break your UFC curse, but then you beat Chase Sherman, who that's a phenomenal win.
Yeah.
And
that's my guy.
You beat Cyril Asker as well. So how was that 3-fight run for you in terms of just what you've experienced and where you were at?
It was unbelievable, man. It was what I knew I could do. It was, a special time in my life because it was just like, man, all this hard work and all this pain I've been through, all the struggle, paying off. You know what I mean? And I got those wins. I was super excited. I was in good standing with the company. They were happy. It was just a joyous time, man. Because that's what we work for is to get that W in the UFC, even if it's just one. Yep. You're like, man, I just want to be able to get my hand raised. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes have never gotten that.
A lot of great fighters.
To talk to Joe Rogan and after fights. Like, that was something that I hadn't visualized. So to go on that run.
You made a Rogan experience. You were on there as well.
No. I haven't been on there. Okay. I've been trying. Joe been telling me, man, we're going to get you. But
come on, Joe. Do the right thing.
Yeah, he need to go and make it happen. But
you broke the curse,
Broke the curse, bro, and life changed for me after that. Got to experience a lot and do a lot.
Another experience where it changed, not in a good way for a lot of people, your experience with UFC 216. Now, from your standpoint, you're supposed to fight Mark Godbear. Yep. Things go sideways with a lot of different things, and you end up fighting Werdum. Now, how did that come about? Because that was, a lot of people think, man,
the Mount Rushmore of MMA.
The legitimate last-minute replacement. Yeah. I mean, how did that happen?
So, if anybody can remember back, that was the weekend of the Vegas shootings.
That's what I mean by that. Shooting.
So it was just a weird weekend. Weird weekend.
Vegas. Lockdown, everything.
Everything was going crazy. The UFC was saying they may cancel the fights. They didn't know if they should put them on. They felt weird about it. And, I was just in a place where I was like, all right, I trained 13 weeks. If I got to fight, I'm going to fight. If I don't, then, whatever. Well, we end up going forward with the fights. And, I remember it just was the vibe was weird.
Yeah.
Like there was some fans there. They brought all the military people that came in and all the first responders that came in.
Oh, nice.
So there was 2,000 of them in the crowd, and it was just like, man, this is about them. Yeah. That's all I kept remembering. I want to go and fight my heart out for them. It's bigger than you.
Yeah.
So if we're fighting, I want to go perform the best I possibly can. And I remember being in the locker room, just kind of waiting around. There was just weird fights were falling off. It was just crazy. Well, Derek Lewis had gotten a back spasm in the locker room, and they had knocked his fight
day of the event.
The day of the event.
Right
before the fights. So I'm in my locker room warming up, and then they come in and go, Walt, sit down. And I was like, why? And they're like,
this is bad news. No, I've been to the principal's office. This ain't good.
They said your fight got moved back because Werdum and Lewis are not fighting anymore. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went to the green room, I ate, and I'm chilling. I'm like, all right, cool. But I made a joke to my coach. I was like, man, if they offer me to fight Werdum, I'm fighting. And he goes, shut up. I was like, I swear to God, you know how much I look up to that dude? He's like, I know, but like, it's Verdun. I'm like, I don't give a shit. You know how much?
Yeah.
Win or lose,
You had a
I was like,
but
I told him, I was like, look, win or lose, I come out on top in that situation.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Damn, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
All right, if they do whatever. So we're laughing. We blew it off.
someone heard it.
Well, I don't think nobody heard it. All of a sudden, my locker door bust open, and there's a camera. There's Mick, there's Sean, and there's Dana.
Jesus.
And I knew right away, bro. I knew right away what was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
I jumped out of my seat. I was like, yes. And Dana goes, you don't even know what we're about to say.
I know what I think you're gonna say.
I know.
This is like an MTV Punks thing. All right, we're going to switch his
you're
opponent
fighting,
last minute.
You're fighting God Bear still. We're
No,
just
they
kidding.
offered it to me. They didn't tell me. I didn't have to do it.
No, I know.
But they go, do you know what we're about to ask you? I said, yeah, I'll fight it. I'll do it. You don't want to talk money? I said, oh, yeah, money. I didn't even think about money.
Double, triple.
Didn't even think about the money. They take me back.
You kind of gave your position up, though, you know?
I did. I really did. Because I'm
not good negotiator.
I'm horrible.
I am too, dude.
Listen, when I tell you, when I found out how much I saved them and when I got paid, I called Mick.
Come on, man.
That Tuesday, I go, Mick, man, throw your boy some more coins, man.
Exactly.
He's like, I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. He's like, I can't give you no money, but I promise you, you're okay.
If you're going to be owed by somebody, the UFC matchmaker is
the right person.
Mick's my dog, man. I'll put you like that. That's my guy. And it was funny because I realized I saw the reportings and the clippings and MMA Junkie, and they were like, the UFC saves millions because, Walt Harris steps in and saves the card and all this shit. And I'm like,
hey! Yeah, that's when you go,
So how was Mark Godbeer? We've had him on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We love Mark. He's nuts. Like
is he real?
And that's out of his mouth. Like that's him telling us that he's not lying. How was his reaction to this? Because he didn't fight,
paid.
But he didn't fight that night.
He didn't. But he
got paid to be there.
He got paid to be there. You got
there
paid
was
to
no
do nothing.
yelling from the other locker room.
Nope.
Nothing.
There was yelling after I actually fought him. Because he's a.
Okay. Well,
let me.
Here we go.
Let me be respectful.
Well, here, less than a month later, you got Godbeer.
So I get Godbeer. I'm beating his ass. He takes the easy road out, man. He knows he did. Everybody knows he did.
So you got disqualified in Godbeer. Essentially, you got called for a low blow.
No. It was a kick after the
low blow.
No. Well, they say it was a low blow that stopped the fight, but no, we never heard anything. Then I throw a kick, and the ref's like, I said stop. So he went and played it up in the corner. The low blow never hurt him, bro. Like, I've gotten gifts from fans. I've analyzed the fight myself. My knee hit him on the belt line, right in the gut.
Okay.
He played it up like he was hurt, and Blake didn't realize.
That's a veteran move. That's a veteran move.
Well, it is a veteran move, but Blake even knew it wasn't a low blow because he never said anything in the beginning. Then he realized, okay, he may be hurt. Let me stop the fight. And I'm in the process of throwing a high kick. My toes grazed his neck, and he acted like he was so discombobulated from the. And I swear to God, on my kids, his corner goes, come here.
Lay down
right here.
You get paid twice as much.
There you go.
Yeah.
He know what he did. And
did you guys have a conversation after
we
this?
We almost fought in the doctor's bay. They had to escort. So I told them verbatim. I told the UFC security and everybody, I said, if you make me stay in this arena and stay in the back with this dude, I'm going to fuck him up. So I suggest you let me go up in the crowd with my family.
Yeah.
You have to assume he's not
They had
lying.
stopped doing that. Remember, we could go out in the crowd. Yeah. They had a section for us. They stopped doing
that. They did?
Yeah, they stopped because there were some incidents with fans and fighters.
That makes sense.
So they stopped us from going up in the crowd. But I told them, I said, look, I can guarantee you as sure as day, if you make me stay back here with him, I'm going to fight him. So either let me go and see my family, see my kids up in the stands and sit with the fans, or it's over.
Cool off, blow some steam off.
So they were like, all right,
see
we'll get security. They got 2 security guys to walk me up to the top where my kids were. And I sat up there and watched the rest of the fight. I watched GSP win the belt.
Was it the cheap seats?
No, it wasn't no cheap seats.
Was it like the 200
level?
It
was medium.
Medium 200 level?
We weren't on floor level, but we were sitting like in the bowl right there at the edge.
My favorite spot.
And I told, because you could see everything.
Exactly.
And I told him, I said, man, and the fans were like, oh, they went nuts.
That's right.
Oh, fuck yeah.
He's the only one who hits one.
You know what I mean? So I went and sat out there and chilled and watched the rest of the fights. But Mark knows what's up, man. Mark knows he played it up.
So you say, you guys almost get into fighting back on a different note. Did you ever see the thing with Joe Riggs versus Nick Diaz? The little cartoon thing.
At the hospital, bro.
Hey, I remember when that happened. Joe Riggs was one of my
That dude, he was a beast too.
That was that's such a funny thing.
You were very close to having
that,
a cartoon incident made of yourself.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
that
Okay.
funny.
For sure. I was about to act a fool.
So your next fight was against Andrei Arlovsky. More again, another like your career has got lots of these like gems in it, where a fighter might have 1 or 2 in your career.
You got like 8.
You got like 8. So this is like right around USADA was getting super strict, and from what I understand, when you look at picograms and things of that nature, some of the testing levels were magnified so high that they were picking up things that
weren't even
really weren't even there. And you had an issue with a tainted supplement to where I think even USADA, they didn't issue an apology, but
Jeff essentially
your punishment was as close to an apology as you're going to get.
Basically, I got like 2 months, which is the time I needed to recover from the fight anyway.
Yeah.
Jeff just told me, he's like, look, we're on your side. I know you did nothing wrong. I know
What was bring us through the whole
So during that period, I had come home from Top Team. I stopped training at Top Team, and there was a local supplement guy that I actually went to high school with. He said he wanted to sponsor me, whatever. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went in one day to pick up supplements, and I remember distinctly asking his assistant, like, he wasn't there, so I don't blame him. But it's a young kid. I'm like, hey, this stuff's cool,
Legit,
right? Like,
yeah.
it's okay. He's like, yeah, man, it's good stuff. It's fine. A lot of people buy it. It's fine. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Take the stuff. Everything's fine. Nothing dramatic happens. I don't feel any different.
Yeah.
But then after the fight, they're like, you popped. And I'm like, wait, what?
What?
I did what? Like, wait a minute. We need to go backtrack. So I got lawyers. I got all, because my character and my reputation means everything.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know
That's
what I
all
mean?
you got at the end of the day.
That's all I got. So I fought tooth and nail, and Jeff was like,
And you want a split decision
exactly.
against
Against
first
a
ballot
a legend.
one of the best of all time.
One of my
heroes growing up.
belt, notch in the belt
Yeah,
type of fight.
yeah.
I got to fight
That's a
somebody
shame to
I
have that taken
idolized.
from you.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
So
horrible.
I went and I fought it, and Jeff was like, look, we know you didn't do nothing, but you got California's a different entity, so they're going to go do their thing.
Okay, but California didn't pop you. USADA popped you.
No.
California did?
USADA didn't find anything.
On a regular?
Yeah.
Really?
But I remember.
It wasn't USADA. That's why Jeff was on my side. Like, Jeff's like, look, you didn't have any dirty tests. You've never had a dirty test. We tested you 20 times. You never popped. You've always been clean. We
That's
know
shocking.
you. We know your character. He's like, wait a minute. Something ain't
Because
right.
usually
here.
if you're going to pop, it's going to be on a
USADA,
USADA test.
right.
Because there's, which is what led me into the question. Like,
But
I didn't think it was California. I thought it was
California is
USADA.
the one who said they found something, but there was so many. Like, the guy dropped my pee. He was handling with no glove. Like, it was all kind of shit
Sometimes
going
that
on.
soap in a bathroom actually has a micron that makes
Listen,
tests positive.
I'm
Like, that's
not
what happened to Neil Magny.
I'm not blaming.
That's what
and
happened to Neil
Neil
Magny.
reached out to me when
Yeah.
he was going through his situation.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those things where it was like, there's something wrong here. Because if I didn't pop for USADA, how in the hell
Yeah, they're way
do I
more
pop for
difficult.
California? And Jeff was like, wait a minute, something ain't right. You're right.
And there are false
Me and
positives. Let's not like.
But that's why Jeff went to bat for me like he did.
Yeah.
Like, I had a conversation with Jeff in Atlanta, face to face, during all of it, and
that's a hard thing to go through.
he
man.
set me down. He said, "Look, Walt, I got your back. Whatever you need, you let me know."
That's good.
So I packaged up everything. I mailed off everything. I did everything. They tested it. They went through. They're like, this dude didn't do shit. Like, so we gotta give him. California did say they found something, so we can't override California. We're gonna give you 2 months, and I'm like.
He argued it down to 2 months. I'm okay with it.
I'm like 2 months is pretty much, or 3 months, or
But
whatever
what
it
about
was.
your win
I'm
pay?
like, that's pretty much already where I'm at.
Did they take your win
No,
bonus?
hell no.
Whatever.
Oh, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
You know
that,
what I
all
mean?
that being said, I remember when I was really had people giving me supplements and whatnot. I didn't think much of it. Like, hey, these are legit supplements. And then I
It's got a
start
label on
finding
it.
out. I start finding like some of those. They say you gotta be careful, Chris. Some of these you're not allowed to take. And I go, oh, these are all legit. And then I learned, like 8% of the stuff they sell on GNC, you can fail tests from them.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a thing people said when they failed.
Right?
Oh, I took
No,
it
it's
from
real.
GNC. No, I thought that was fake. That
It's
was
real.
real. I didn't realize that. So I can see how that could happen to a lot
But
of
what's
people.
even crazier is when I was going through my situation and I was doing research. Man,
Did you lose sleep over it?
I did, because I got slandered on the internet.
And you were innocent.
Like every post I made, there was needles, and it was just like, I'm like, this is fucked up, man. Like, this is my character. So, my lawyers are like, look, we can sue this company. Like we were exploring it, but it's a tough road. But what I found out in my research was that because the supplement companies aren't FDA regulated, a lot of them are making dirty stuff with the good stuff. So it gets contamination, cross-contamination. And I'm like, oh my God.
You just don't know.
Like, so how do we win?
Here, but now think about this. Well, they make mass amounts of illegal steroids in the same place they make legal stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so, all right, we have law enforcement here. Then why aren't they having issues at these monster steroids?
Because you're talking about
come on,
pharmaceuticals and money.
Come on, man.
It's just a lot of stuff.
It's a game.
We're not going to get into all that.
But it's a game. Okay.
Alexey
Olnik.
I'm good. We beat it. We got past it.
My man. We'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
All right, so you had Alexey Olnik and Chris. As we said, these caveats keep, coming to a head to where, it's almost like the rug keeps getting pulled out from under you. Alexey Olnik, how that fight gets changed to Serghei Spivak, and it's due to the fact that Alexey's got to go fight Overeem in the main event. How soon, how far out of the event does that take place?
They gave me ample enough time. That's why I said they take care of me. It wasn't like you say, sweep.
It wasn't like a
Mark
fight.
No. They're like, hey, look, Alexey is stepping in. We're gonna give you 8 weeks for Spivak. And I'm
okay,
cool.
That's cool.
He's true, up and coming, undefeated.
Yeah,
it's still a tough fight.
Stud,
but he's a beast. It's like, and he's since I beat him, he had great success in the UFC.
Yeah.
He beat some good names, but it's like at the time I'm just like, I want to fight.
Did they come up with a different pay scale as well, or was it the same?
Yeah, I was Jason House. Shout out Jason House, Iridium Sports. That dude gives me I've had so many different like, bro, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good. But like I said, they offered me Spivak, and Jason's like, easy money. I'm like, all right, cool, let's get it.
Okay, so then 2 months later, you fight Olnik again, and you made quick work of him as well. So did you just not stop training? Did you just keep going?
I went right back to the grind. I went right back to the gym after I beat Spivak. It was so fast. I was like, all right, you're in good shape. Like, let's go.
Not hurt.
You know what I mean? No bangs. I'm like, all right, let's go in there and do what we got to do. And then they offered me Alexey, and that was a weird one because I'm close with Alexey. I trained with Alexey.
It's weird. You see these guys in the locker room, and you kind
of
get
weird,
a little bit of bond.
That was no, it wasn't even a lot. I trained I
trained
with the team for 5. So this was our relationship. Alexey taught me how to work with me with grappling. I would work with him with striking. That's how
wow.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how close we were. So when they offered me that fight, honestly, by that point, I was like, it's business.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was still like,
good dude. Good dude.
You always want him to win. You know what I mean? Now he's saying, like, I don't want to win this.
Him now. Yeah. But I also knew in my mind how to beat him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I've trained with him. You know what I mean? Like, so it was weird that fight week. Me and him are sitting here close as me and you are.
Yeah.
Talking. I never do that. I don't give a shit if I know you like from Adam. I'm not gonna sit down and hang out with you. But me and Alexey,
at that
Andre,
point, you can't, how
like,
can you not?
It was weird, bro. Me, him, Tim Rothwell, and Alexey are all hanging out, like in the back, just talking. I'm like, this shit is crazy, but
it
is what it is. It's the show.
This is my guy.
It's the show.
Yeah,
I remember when I was on the Ultimate Fighter. At the end, they paired us up. Everybody from my team won. So at the end, I had to fight Din Thomas. So we trained together every day.
I can imagine.
And so it was funny. They said, okay, you two got to fight. And we go, all right. So we go in the gym that day, and we go, I train with you every day. Like, okay, let's spar today. We trained the day before, like, the fight. It's like, what else are you going to do, man? It's like, I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm going to do. We trained together right before we fought. Like, what are you going to do, man? I mean,
it is what it is.
You're my favorite people here. We're in the same room together. You know what I mean? So it was very awkward, though, because I want to fight my buddy. You know what I mean? But you have to.
It's business, yeah.
I've had to fight many of my friends that ain't cool, but you deal with it, you move on, you hang out afterwards.
Exactly. And that's how I looked at it. Once I got to that point, and I kind of had a little bit of a prep for that with Chase. Like, Chase, we're from the same region.
Yeah.
So,
Chase,
like, we
you
know
really
all the
are.
same people.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go down and train with Chase before he got in the UFC. Like, so me and him kind of had that kind of relationship. Even fight week, I spoke to him at breakfast once, and I kept it short, and I moved on. But with Alexey, it was like, what's up, baby? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even, it was weird. But at the same time, I knew I had to go in there and perform. I can't let that be why I don't do what I do. And, I got the win in that one pretty quick. I think like in 10 seconds, 11 seconds or something. And that was like,
Well, you knew what to do.
I knew what to do, and that was my coming out.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like, man,
Walt does these fights where he didn't even have to get warmed up, dude. I never had no 10 seconds. Walt's getting paid. He's getting paid by the hour.
Yeah.
I get paid by
That's
the fight.
that's-
I'm getting paid.
Oh, you worked at a UPS. I ain't doing that.
As
soon as I'm doing my route,
like, come on, man. But that was that, and that was one of those fights that put me on the map. You know what I mean? Everybody knew who I was. I made ESPN top. I made Sports.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like
I was yelling at the TV. I saw it. I was yelling.
my coming out. You know what I mean?
After that, you have a huge fight, main event, Alster. Now,
This is
I remember,
first fight after COVID, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
remember watching that fight and being all excited because nobody would have argued had they stopped that fight with you on top of him pounding it. But he really, I think, in my opinion, showed a veteran move where he was able to weather that storm. And after that, I mean, we always talk about this. Somebody gets clipped and I'll say blow you up, but you put it all out there to finish a guy. If you don't finish him, that fight is different.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened there.
Yeah.
Walk us through that, man.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on around that fight. My daughter, her passing, and then it was my first main event.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
It was nuts. I probably shouldn't have fought in hindsight.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I look back and I'm like, damn, you're in your own way sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you probably should have told him push it back a little bit. Because it actually got canceled. It was supposed to be in December and they moved it. So I was like, whatever, let's do it. No fans. I don't care. That's probably better for me.
It's a weird feeling, though.
It is a weird feeling, but at that time in my life, with all the stuff that was going on around my daughter, it was national news. I felt like no fans was a better situation because I didn't have to answer that question from them, the media. Like it was just like, all right, let's go do our job. But I wasn't able to train like I needed to for Overeem. I was in okay shape, but I felt like I could have been in better shape. And
but that's a rough statement. Like
but
because
that's
you were
just
distracted.
me. I know me. I wasn't there all the way. So I got in there with him, and like I said before, somebody I watched before I ever put a pair of gloves on, somebody I admired. So it was like, man, these are opportunities that you can tell your grandkids about. These are things that you can share for the rest of your life. And at that point too, it's like, man, my daughter went through way worse. You can get in here and fight, bro. Like,
it's just a fight.
It's just a fight. So I went in there and I was like, all right, let's do this. And when I clipped him, which I knew I could get to him, I was like, man, you can knock him out. When it happened, it was like all of the emotions of the moment. This was a national story.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited. ESPN's in on it. Like, you beat Overeem this fast.
Yep.
The sky's the limit. So I was just trying to get him out of there instead of like taking my time. Get up. I can get you again like I usually do.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Dude, this is what he's saying. That's Overeem he's talking about.
But
But you let him up when he's hurt, you crack
But here's
him
the
again.
thing.
It's over.
I believe I'm that good at striking.
Sure.
That I
Wait.
can allow him.
Excuse me. He's that good at striking against one of the greatest ever
You know what
from
I mean?
K1. I'm sorry.
And
Go
I
ahead.
believe, so I should have in my mind done what I normally do. Hey, get up,
But
use
the
your
emotion
legs.
was there.
But the emotion was there. It was like, oh my
Kill
God.
him, kill
look at
him.
them, kill him.
You can't-
And then I saw him kind of like getting himself together, and it was crazy. Me and him are really close now.
Yeah.
We gotten super, especially since the first fight got canceled, because we were literally in the same car doing media. You know what I mean? We spent a lot of time together. And so he told me, we talk about the fight, and it's funny because when I got done and we got up and we were clinched against the cage, I remember thinking in my head, fuck.
Yeah.
We got 4 more rounds of this. And he said in his head, he thought, yes. We got 4 more rounds. Because he knew I was done.
Were you guys talking? Were you guys talking at all?
No,
or
we didn't talk. But
They were thinking
but
it.
after
You were
the
thinking-
fight,
You guys
we
both
talked
had
about
the
it, and he
conversation.
said, the veteran in him went,
Perfect.
I'm
Because
gonna be okay.
made it.
Because he
weathered
felt
that
how
storm.
I felt when I pushed him up against the cage, and I went to get head pressure, and it wasn't real heavyweight head pressure. It was just like, I'm just here. He knew. He was like,
I got this.
I made
dude,
it.
man.
I made it.
I
And
weathered
so,
the storm.
we laugh about it. I said, man, you're a savage, bro. Like, I get.
50 Fight Club member.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 50 fights.
you're a legend. Man.
Yeah.
Like, you're
It's still
somebody
fighting at the highest
that's
levels.
still fighting and has adapted his game.
Well,
That's what I admire.
One thing we talk about, like, after he tested positive for horse meat or whatever it takes, I don't care what he made.
I'm
some
going
crazy
horse
thing.
meat. I'm going horse meat.
Taking meat from a horse.
You went
I
to
don't know.
Mexico?
I don't judge, but whatever. the point is, he was a beast. Savage coming and knocking people out. But after that happened, he
got better.
He got better. When he's not the Savage like that. He's a better counter puncher. He's a smarter fighter now. Afterwards, I've never seen that happen like that. Man, that's amazing. He got better after.
And passing tests, like legit.
Yeah, no, he's clean now.
Been tested by more than
anybody
else.
He gets tested more than he was getting tested on our presser. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, they were pulling up on us
right here, buddy.
Like, hey, we need Overeem for a minute.
And
and I'm like, you know, but he's a very smart.
Genetically
Just
special.
talking to him, you will find out how cerebral he really is. Like, he's into politics. We talked about everything, bro. Like, I was like, how did you know? He's like,
he's Dutch.
He's very
he's Dutch. He's Dutch.
That says a lot,
That's
man.
it.
Very
He's Dutch.
And so, you know, we're trying. It's been so much going on. We hadn't been able to train together. But he texts me like every week. You coming? He actually had it set up. I was supposed to go, and I had some other stuff to do for, you know, some situations around my daughter. I couldn't go, but I'm trying to get out there to learn from him. You know, just to be up under him and pick his brain, because that dude is doing what he's doing at the highest level for a reason. Yeah. And it's because of how he approaches the game, how he thinks, and I admire him. You know?
Oh, how can you not?
Like, you know, the dude, and he's a good man. Like, that's the thing. He's got daughters. He's a father. He's a family guy. He's just like me, you know. And I respect him on so many levels. And I'm also grateful too. I have to say this, for him giving me the opportunity, because there were a number of guys who came out in the media and said, we'll never fight Walt, because of what I was going through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because of the situation.
Out of also respect.
Out of respect.
But both were respectful. Yeah,
but
both sides.
They both had their understanding, and his understanding was, this is his livelihood. Yeah. This is how he feeds his family. And he put his career on the line to fight.
Oh, he was cut after
that.
I
was scalding hot going into that fight.
Yeah.
So
he may have lost his job after that.
Yeah.
He could have. He was right there.
But he put it on the line to give me an opportunity to take care of my family and to escape what I was going through. And
you have to have a focus.
Exactly.
And if you focus on this, but over here,
I commend him for that, you know, and we shared a great moment right after the fight. We still share great moments. So I'm thankful to Overeem, man. Somebody, awesome. Like I said, I look up to. So
good
dude, man. Good dude.
So at the end of the interview, we usually kind of go through a list of names, and good, bad, ugly, kind of give us what you think of it. You mentioned a guy earlier. I'll start it off if you don't mind, Chris. Your first boxing coach, Jon Dye.
Good, the bad, the ugly?
Well, no, I mean, just anything that you want to say about anybody.
I'm thankful to him,
okay.
You know, for believing in me, giving me the opportunity. You know, we just grew apart. I needed to push my career to the next level, and, you know, I feel like I hit the wall with him, you know. But, you know, that's still my guy.
He gives back to the community, though, right?
Yeah,
that's one of those guys.
For sure, man.
Yep.
He did something for me that, you know, at that time in my life I needed. You know, I needed an outlet, and he gave me an outlet, gave me an opportunity. So I'm grateful to him forever.
That's awesome.
One of your boys here, I'm sure, Eryk Anders.
Brother. That's
smooth.
That's my brother, man. Like, talk about running through walls, I run through a wall for Eryk.
All right, so you talked about American top team, Conan Silveira.
Yeah, man, it's bittersweet. You know, it changed later into the relationship, but in the beginning, Conan was like a father to me.
Okay.
He was in every corner, every fight. Spent every day with him in the gym, and then there was just something that switched. You know, and I don't know if it was just the new facility and how they approach business, but you know, we didn't see eye to eye anymore.
Okay.
And so I had to move on, and it's crazy because like literally after I left the gym, I started getting offered all the top team guys, the heavyweights. So,
you think you're getting targeted?
I think so, and it's fine because I smoked them all.
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
You know, it is what it is. I don't have any hard feelings toward him or anybody, but that chapter of my life is closed. I still got great friends from top teams.
Sure.
Charles Rosa is my little brother, as I've mentioned. He's still down there. But you know, the gym changed. A lot of guys left. You know, it's not the same family culture.
I think Din Tom's up there.
Yeah, when Dean, that's what I'm saying. When Dean left, I knew something wasn't right. But I left before Dean, and Dean called me and said, "Hey, I'm not at top." I said, "I already know." But what the fuck took you so long? He was like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Hey."
And loyalty's a tough thing.
But here's the thing. But he was loyal to me when I left. He was putting all my game plans together, videos, critique every fighter when I wasn't even at top. He would
really
drop box me the fight.
So that's a legit friend.
That's my brother, man. Like like I said,
that's family.
There's only a few number of guys that I would literally run through a wall for, lay my life on. Dean is one of them.
That's awesome.
I love that guy, man. Love him.
about Tyson Fury?
Savagery.
So you have a relationship with him. How did you get a
So,
relationship with him?
So Tyson's best friend Tim reached out to one of my close friends, Fred Weaver, through Instagram, and was like, "Hey, how do we find Walt?" Well, I guess Tyson knew I could box and knew I had trained with Deontay, and knew I wasn't green behind the ears when it came to training and boxing. So he needed a left-handed boxer, and there's not a lot of left-handed heavyweights and a lot of actual heavyweights that can give him work. So they reached out to me, said, "Hey, we'll fly you to Manchester, put you up for a week," and I was like, "Cool, I'll go." But at that time, I watched Tyson fight twice, and I just thought, man, this dude ain't good at all.
Really?
Yeah. At that time.
Okay.
Listen. So in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna go over and make this quick money.
Yeah.
Get this work in.
This is a non-sanctioned bout. I got this one.
I got this headgear. I'm gonna fuck Tyson Fury up, bro. The best boxer I've ever been in the ring.
I bet.
Ever.
I believe that.
He is unbelievable, bro. And I told him and his father at lunch, I think it might be the third day of work with him. I said, "Tyson, I underestimated you, bro." And he said, "Everybody does."
Where does that come from?
Because of how he looks.
Yeah.
In his personality,
it ain't
demeanor?
even personality. It's just his lifestyle, how he was living, and what we knew of him at the time.
Big partier.
Big partier. He looked out of shape.
Dude.
He's a gypsy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this dude don't take it serious. I'm going to kill this guy. The knowledge and the skill is on a whole nother level.
He just got that dude has been fighting so much his whole life, it just ingrained in his head. He's so slick and comfortable. Yeah,
his dad, and that's what they did. That's how they made money, is they fought.
They're fighters.
Too.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of, like Miguel always says, there's not a lot of like lawsuits in the gypsy community. No. They figure it out in the parking lot.
Exactly.
They work it out with it.
Yeah.
Judge and execution.
Exactly.
Right?
So how was your relationship with him, though, like on a personal level? On
a personal level, it's like, it's crazy, like how they accepted me. Because I was like, man, I didn't know how. I heard about gypsies, but I didn't understand.
It's different,
them.
yeah.
It's different lifestyle. But they treated me like family. It was so, we worked so well together. They extended my stay and paid me more. I ended up staying almost a month.
Really?
I had to call home and tell my wife.
Ask for permission?
Yeah. I was like, hey,
I ain't gonna be there.
She's like, are they paying you? I was like, hell yeah, they paying me. I ain't gonna stay over and take these beats for nothing. She's like, okay.
That's all I need to hear.
If you make some money, then, figure it out.
See if you can stay longer.
You know what I mean? But I developed great relationships from them. And mind you, before I went over there, I had experience training with Deontay for years.
That's my next question.
That's what we.
My next question is Deontay
That was
Wilder.
weird because when I was there, the media was like trying to find that angle because they were about to fight each other at some point. So they're like, "You train with Wilder, da 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 da." Like their whole thing was about that, And I had to explain it to them like they're two different fighters, but Tyson's more skilled. Like I just feel like.
But that's plain as day.
But they asked me my honest to God opinion, and I was like, from a fighter's perspective, Tyson has more ways to win the fight.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
I think everybody knew, though. I mean,
but you got the hammer of God.
He hits him with a hammer. It's it. You know what I mean?
And the first fight, when he hit him, I was like,
I thought it was over.
I
thought he killed him.
He rose from the dead.
Yeah,
it's like the Undertaker.
But then the second fight, Tyson and them called me and they go, "Hey, you want to come to the fight?" And I'm like, "Fuck, yeah, I want to go."
Yeah.
So they flew me out there, and I got to watch it
in person.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us about Deontay Wilder and like your relationship with him.
Well, that kind of came out of just the Alabama thing. Like I was the #1 MMA guy, he's the #1 boxer, so people wanted to see us kind of get in the ring together for a long time. And he was actually fighting. I can't remember the guy's name. Left-handed guy. I got a phone call from them.
Ortiz.
No, it wasn't Ortiz. It was actually one fight. It might have been Ortiz first time. I can't.
Cuban.
No, I know I helped him get ready for Ortiz both times, but there was a fighter he was fighting that was left-handed, and he's like, "Yo, I need a lefty. Why don't you come down? Everybody already kind of wants to see this." His coach Jay reached out. I was like, "All right, cool." So I went down there, and I was just thinking in my head, like, "Don't get hit." You know what I mean? Well, the first round,
good move.
He hit me with a punch, and I kid you not, he hit me so hard that I went across the ring. I hit the ropes. In the process of me going to the ropes, I'm thinking in my head, "Why in the hell do I do this?" I'm gonna retire. Like that's how hard he hit. I swear to God, I've hit.
Was this light sparring? Was this?
No, we're going at it. Like we're bleeding. Like he's bleeding, I'm bleeding. Like we try to kill each other. So you
guys agreed to have an actual?
Yeah, we're fighting.
You know what? Sometimes they have like that. You go out there and you got to prove something, and then it happens.
Here's the thing.
Does it slow down after that?
When he hit me, the way I'm built, I go forward.
Yeah, you had to hit him back,
and that threw him off. So they asked me to stay longer as well because that's just the way I fight. If I get clipped, I don't know how to go run and back. I'm like, fuck it. But Jay, his coach, told me. He said, man, you're crazy or you just, I don't know. He said, but everybody we bring in here, Deontay hits him like that and it ruins the round. The guy's covered up, he's moving around.
You can see that.
I said, well, coach, at the end of the day, I got pride. You know what I mean? And I'm the #1 heavyweight in MMA, so I ain't going to let him just beat my ass. Yes, he's probably going to outbox me,
but you know what? One thing I've noticed, I had 15 pro boxing matches. MMA guys, it's a different level of toughness in the boxing.
We kind of stupid.
But
dumb,
just gritty and tougher. Like boxers are, in a way.
My mama call it dumb.
Yeah, but
it's true. She's right. Your mom ain't wrong.
They don't have that grittiness that the MMA community does. You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, you guys are nuts. You guys walk through punches, and everybody else is like, oh, I don't like it. So I know what you mean. They probably like this dude is something's wrong with him because.
And I think that's what his coach appreciated. He's like, man, we getting good work. And the thing was, it wasn't I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna hit your ass back.
Yeah.
So I was hitting him, his headgear spinning, my headgear spinning, and we laugh about it when we done. And they were thrown off by it. Like,
they're not used to that stuff.
It's kind of crazy.
Was it Mark Breland? Was he there?
Breland was there. I learned so much from Mark Breland.
Is he the best?
Oh my God, he's unreal. Like just little nuances to the game that helped me in MMA, which is around the time that I started kind of, and I would go into fights and get hit by guys at the heavyweight division with 4-ounce gloves and be like.
Breland was a stud boxer. I love Mark Breland.
He's the best amateur, one of the greatest amateurs of all time.
Yeah, amazing coach as well.
Yeah, great coach too. But that was that, and then Tyson. So
Did you guys ever hang out socially? You and Tyson? Or you and Deontay? You and Deontay. I apologize.
Yeah. Me and D, we go eat and kick it. That's my guy, man. Like I believe in Deontay, but I just think, and I've told him this. You gotta. I've seen how well he can box. He's falling in love with his power.
Yeah.
I did the same thing as an amateur. When you're knocking everybody out, you think that's how the fight's supposed to go.
It's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code. And so we've talked about it. I said, man, if you I'll give you an example. One time I was down there training with him. I had did my rounds, so we would do 4 rounds, like that, between 3 different guys.
Yeah.
I went first so I could kind of push it. When I got done, I sat on the side of the ring. I'm taking my stuff off. I'm about to go, rewrap and hit the bag, just kind of get my own workout on. He looked over. He goes, "Hey, Tick, what you want to see?" And I said, "What you talking about? Who you want me to do this round? Ali, Tyson?" I said, "Give me Ali." And I watched him the last 8 rounds bounce around.
The shuffle.
And
just looked like
the shuffle.
I had never. He looked so good doing he was actually boxing, and I was like,
it's that discipline,
and
man.
I told him, I said, dude, if you did that in fights,
you'd be
nobody would criticize you. He said
you couldn't.
He said, I don't trust it that much. I said, you need to, because that is special.
Yeah,
that I'm talking about, full of energy.
Can you imagine if
picking his shots?
Him and Tyson Fury are going to fight again? Can you imagine if that's the tactic that he employs?
He's going to have to do something different.
It'll be a different fight.
He has to.
It'll be a different fight.
Yeah. Now, all this being said, I don't know, man. I've talked about, there's 3 guys I like to fight right now. You got Tyson Fury, you got Wilder, Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua loses both of them.
Facts. He's scared of both of them.
100%. They can say whatever, do whatever. He gets dominated by both of them.
And I'm telling you what I heard while I was in England. The people of England don't really believe.
Really?
Oh, for sure. They don't care for Joshua.
I thought that they would be all about it. It blew my mind. I was like, I didn't know they.
And because I'm asking questions, I'm like, I would go so in my hotel there was a pub.
Yeah.
I would go to the pub every night, and I would sit down and just talk to people because they knew I was in. Everybody knew I was there.
Yeah.
She can't miss you.
Well, they're like, oh, hey. So I would go sit at the pub, and people are talking to me about it and how is it to train with Tyson and asking me, and they're a lot of them knew Tyson because he's from that area. But then they started talking about Joshua and explaining how he became who he is, So he's a kept man. They're like, he's kept.
Oh.
And and I'm like, damn. I'm like, so they.
I love that. I love that, man.
Knows that Joshua is gonna be in for a tough fight, and they want to push that fight to when it makes the most sense, it makes the most money, which is boxing. I get it, but we want to see it now. I don't want to see it when you're 40 years old.
That's what you got to like about
right now.
What you got to like about the MMA, like UFC. They're not putting off fights.
Hell no.
There's no build up. You fight now.
Yeah, you hot now. You fight now.
Yeah,
you know
that's the best way to do it. But so one more thing, I don't even know if I have the authority to do this, but I'm gonna officially offer you a BKFC fight if you ever want to do bare knuckles.
Yeah, that's right. Would you ever thought about bare knuckles?
And so
BKFC?
Yeah, I have. But it's scary because it's like, man, my hands.
You got the pedigree.
I know, but it's also like
it's shortened rounds.
Shortened rounds.
I love it. 2 minute rounds.
I hit too hard, man. This thing might shatter on the first punch. Then what I'm gonna do?
Yeah, you're left-handed.
But look, I'm gonna keep that in the back pocket.
I think you would excel at it. You're one of the few.
I have talked to my wife about it.
Oh my God.
You have?
Yeah, I have. I watch it. I'm like, this is crazy. I love it.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you one thing. The best thing about it might be like the reason I did it is I can't get through a camp of MMA. Body, back, you do 3 days of training. It's not bare knuckles so easy. Go in there, you box a little bit. That's it. It's so much easier on your body.
Okay, so I saw somebody was saying that they trained with no gloves, like they hit mitts barehanded.
They're stupid. Okay. I don't do that.
Okay.
I use like MMA gloves.
Okay.
And then people are like, I'm gonna toughen up my hands. Man, you're gonna break your hands. So I've never done it.
Okay.
Most we laugh at people.
Well, I'm gonna take.
Just think about it. That's what I'm thinking about.
We know somebody that can help you out. We know someone that can help you out.
I trust what you say about it.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Well, hey, man, Walt, I want to really thank you. It's been one of our favorite ones we've done. It's been a great amount of fun. You've been very good. And anything you want to say to people and follow you on Instagram or anything?
Shout outs.
Yeah. Follow me on all social media at the Big Ticket 205. Thank you, both of y'all. I'm like, it's crazy that I'm sitting there.
Dude.
You don't understand. Like,
I get to meet guys like you because of him.
This dude.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, as fighters, you have, okay, that good guy was a fighter. This guy was a fighter. He was a gangster, bro. Like, lights out, baby. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
It's surreal for me because, like I said, I came from a basketball background, and to be in spaces with you and in this moment, not to take
not me.
No,
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let me
as
have
a man, like this dude, like when I first got to meet him, I met you at a strike artist.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but my eyes lit up. I was like, woo! I'm a fan always. You know what I mean?
It cannot be.
Yeah.
This dude is.
He put the time in.
Yeah, he did.
Put the time in.
He's got.
I appreciate it, man. Thank
respect you. For me. So I appreciate y'all. I ain't got nothing to shout out. Except for my nonprofit, if you want to get a chance to, help us out with that. It's called A Nice Heart. It's in memory of my daughter. We're going public with it February 1st with the UFC. We partner with them. They're about to do a big media thing, blast it out all over the world. So if you guys want to check that out, go to niceheart.com. Any donations will help. We just want to make sure we help other people and do other,
I'll hit it tonight. I'll hit it tonight, man. No, you did us this huge solid, man. I got you tonight,
sure,
man. You'll
appreciate
to see it tonight.
I appreciate you.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Man, dude. Nice meeting you.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.